Hello lovely people, I hope that you are well. I feel like at this point we were all kind of expecting to be travelling a lot more than what we are right now, right? But alas, it is what it is. But if you are someone who is at home longing to travel somewhere but you can't right now, then this is the video for you. I have 6 top tips that I want to share with you about how you can become a better traveller and more planned and prepared for your future trips whilst in the comfort of your own home. So without further ado, let's get into it. Except I'm gonna go inside because planes keep going overhead and it means that I have to keep stopping. In order to travel more efficiently, connect with and show a deeper respect for the locals, it's a really good idea to familiarise yourself with the local language. In most cases, just picking up the basics is enough to get you by, but I would argue that the more you know, the better experience that you are going to have. So it's a great idea to utilise your free time at home by learning the language of the country that you wish to travel to. And there are many ways that you can do this. As many of you know, over the past year I have been taking Spanish classes with a Spanish school, and the one thing that they always tell me to do in my free time to continue practicing, and the thing that's going to help me improve the most, is to watch Spanish TV shows and movies to immerse myself in the language without even really thinking about it. But where do we find these foreign TV shows and movies that are kind of easy enough for us to understand but are going to help us? Well, that's where LingoPie comes to the rescue, who are kindly the sponsors of today's video. LingoPie are a new online service where you have access to thousands of TV shows and movies in Spanish, Portuguese, German, Italian, Russian and French. You can search for what to watch by the language you want to learn, and you can even choose something to watch based on the specific country and dialect you want to learn, like shows from Mexico, Spain, Argentina and Colombia. You can then view the subtitles in both your own language and the local language. If there is any particular word or phrase that you are stuck on, you can click on it to reveal its translation. The words will then automatically be added to your word bank, which you can revisit and review. You can test yourself, and when you feel like you have remembered that word, you can remove it from your word bank. I think this is such a fun and innovative way to passively learn and practice a new language, where the bits that you don't understand will actually end up sinking in. I'm trying to watch shows from a variety of different countries that speak Spanish so that I can tune into different local dialects and hopefully just get a more well-rounded understanding and comprehension of the language. You can do a 7-day free trial for LingoPie, and you can also get 65% discount on the memberships using the link in the description. And what I also love about LingoPie is that you can watch videos from countries where, as well as the language, you are also getting to know a bit about the culture of that country, which leads me on to tip number 2. You may be surprised at how many cultural differences certain countries have that differ from your own. It could be something subtle like what certain hand gestures mean, or it could be something more prevalent like certain dress codes. Although it's not expected for tourists to know every single culture and custom of a new country that they visit, it's a really good idea to research and familiarise yourself with the culture and customs of that country that you're visiting, in order to be as respectful as possible, in order to build stronger connections, but also to avoid any possible conflict. For example, a thumbs up in British and many other cultures is a positive gesture. It means yes, good, I agree. Whereas in Bangladesh, a thumbs up is actually used as an insult. Another thing to be aware of is the country's tipping culture. I will never forget the first time I arrived in the US and my taxi driver dropped me off at my hostel, and I paid them the fare that was due, nothing more, because I didn't realise that I should. And the taxi driver got so angry at me, like just such an attitude. Like, I swear he would have spit on me if it would have been socially acceptable. And I was so confused. I was like, why is this guy being like that? And it was only afterwards that I realised, oh, I was supposed to tip him. Like, that's a thing that you do in the US and I didn't know. Perhaps that's an aggressive example, but tipping culture really does vary a lot across the world, and it is worth researching before you go. None of us want to end up in the sticky situation when you're abroad where you run out of money. And similarly, you don't want to be too stingy with your money when you're traveling and then realize at the end of your trip that you actually have a bunch of money left over that you could have spent on more fun activities that you were refraining yourself from doing doing because you didn't want to spend too much. So in order to combat both of these potential travel dilemmas, you need to budget. First of all, before you leave, you must create a budget of how much you estimate your trip is going to cost. I actually have a product on backpackingbananas.com which helps you do exactly this. It's called the Backpacking Budget Calculator, and I'll link it down below. And secondly, when you are on your trip, you want to track your spending. And I have another tool on backpackingbananas.com which helps you do exactly that. A space where you can track your spending and on a daily basis compare it against your budget so that you can see that you're on track and how much money essentially that you have to play around with. There's actually a bundle deal where you can buy those products together, so I'll make sure that I have all the links to those down below. But budgeting is super important when it comes to being a better traveler. As well as researching the culture and the customs of the country you're visiting, it's also a really good idea to research the practical information of that country. This includes what is the currency of the country and what is the conversion rate of that currency with your local currency. Firstly, I recommend downloading the XE Currency app onto your phone because in my opinion, this is the easiest app to use on the go when it comes to currency conversion. And secondly, you want to figure out your own little mathematical way of doing the conversion in your head. Either that or just memorize a few common conversions. So for example, let's say that you're going to Thailand. £1 is 44.69 Thai baht, so roughly 45 Thai bahts. £10 is just under 450 Thai baht. Now everyone will have their own way of working this out. To me, what I'd probably do here is go 45 Thai baht is close to 50 Thai baht, which is a nicer number for mental arithmetic. So 50 Thai baht is around 10% more than £1. To get from 50 to 1, you could divide by 50 for sure, but that's not always going to be easy. I would times by 2 to get 100 and then move back the last 2 digits to get 1. So if something is 340 Thai baht, I'd say times by 2, which is 680, and move back the last 2 digits, which is £6.80. So 340 Thai baht is about 10% more than £6.80. So that's around £7.50. Now all of our brains work very differently, so don't panic if that method confuses you. That's simply just what I would do in my head. That's how my brain works. Other practical details to look into are transport. How are you going to get around? I often use Rome to Rio to see my options of travel in foreign countries. What I also like to do is see if the country has Uber or an Uber equivalent, and if it does, I will download that onto my phone before I go, so I'm set up ready to, get a lift from the airport as soon as I arrive. And if you're planning on getting a local SIM in the country, it's important to research which network will be the best for you to go with. If you are going on a big trip, anything longer than 2 to 3 weeks, personally, I do not like to make any bookings or reservations. This is because often I want to stay in places longer than I've anticipated, or sometimes I might want to leave earlier than I've anticipated. Unexpected things might happen, you might discover new places, or you might meet some people who you want to spend a little bit more time with. I don't know, it could be anything, and you're not going to know about these things before you go. And so it's really nice to not have any specific commitments that you have to go to, so that you can allow yourself to be flexible and allow yourself to go with the flow of the trip. However, it's still a very good idea to create a rough, flexible itinerary of all the places that you would like to go, recommendations that you've received of places that you want to stay, activities you want to do, food you want to eat. And what I like to do, as you may know, is make stars on Google Maps. I literally make stars all over the world whenever anyone gives me a recommendation for something, or if someone posts something online which I think, oh god, I'd love to do that one day. Just make a star on Google Maps, and then if I ever find myself in that destination, I know that I've had that recommendation. And then when I know the destination of my travel I've actually chosen, I will then go ahead and do active research on that destination and make even more stars on my map in that country. What I then tend to do is look at the stars and go, okay, what is a logical, efficient route that I can take that's going to dot to dot as many of these stars as possible? This will also help determine where I'm going to fly into. Will I fly in and out of the same place and do a loop route, or will I fly in and out of different places? And finally, let's talk about fitness. Do I need to be fit to travel the world? Well, Relatively, yeah. Traveling a country usually involves a lot of walking. And if you've got a backpack, walking with a fair amount of weight on your back. Walking around airports, walking to transport terminals, walking across towns and villages, walking up hills, walking in the blazing heat, walking in the rain. If you are someone who is not used to doing a lot of walking, I highly recommend preparing yourself for it. And you can do this simply by going on long walks in your local area. You can challenge yourself by wearing a backpack and adding weight to it. You can also purposefully go to an area where you know there's going to be a lot of hills and tackle those. Even if it's just for 1 to 2 hours, once or twice a week, this is going to help you massively with your fitness when you are on your trip. And simultaneously, it's a good idea to practice your orientation and navigation skills at the same time. So try using either a paper map, or you could literally just follow a trail that's on your phone. Go to areas that you are unfamiliar with and you actually have to figure out where you're going, because it's all good practice that's going to help you when you are lost in a foreign country. And there you have it. Those are my top 6 tips to become a better traveler whilst you are still at home. I actually love the planning and preparation process for a trip. It gets me so excited and I get a giddy feeling, which is always amazing. I hope you enjoyed this video and learned something new. Please subscribe to my channel if you haven't already, and I will see you in the next video. Bye!